Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. And you are listening to the Prism of America's Education. And this is Karen Schoen, and we will be listening and discussing what is going on as the next phase of Agenda 21 envelops our country, and that would be the land grabs. Now, why would they be after our land? It's not Agenda 21 anymore. It's Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Biden's 3030, the Great Reset, the New Green Deal. It doesn't matter what the name is. The plan is always the same. They want what we have and will stop at nothing in order to get it. I have asked Lane Watkins to join us today, and he has done a lot of digging into some of the land grabs that we are seeing. Now, just because we talk about Florida does not mean that this is not happening in other places. So what we are doing is we're going to use Florida as an example, but you get to look in your state, you get to look in your country, and now you get to see exactly what these people are trying to do. Lane, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here, Karen. Good talking with you again.
Yes, it is. And I know, Lane, you have done a tremendous amount of digging into this new and greatest land grab that our wonderful government is now trying to wave the carrot in front of us, hoping that enough people will bite into it. So can you explain how this works and what's going on?
Absolutely. And first, let me say, I had no idea what a National Heritage Area was until just a couple of months ago. And the more I dig into it, the more of a shock it is. Believe it or not, they started in 1984. It is a nationwide crisis. There are currently 55 National Heritage Areas scattered throughout the country. You know, even though we're going to talk a little bit about Florida, like I say, it's a nationwide crisis. What they are is the National Park Service, or I guess more correctly, the Department of the Interior, decided to find a way to help communities protect, and here are the trigger words: conserve, protect, and preserve.
Oh,
It's
how nice.
the words they like to use. What that translates into is we're going to freeze everything and not let anybody enjoy it or use it as they see fit. So here's the danger. Any group, you and I this morning, could decide to set up a National Heritage Area in your town just because we want to. And we go to the National Park Service. They help us. We do a feasibility study saying how great it would be. And then they take that and turn it into a bill that gets passed by our Congress and signed into law by a president. Now you have, by law, a National Heritage Area, and that gets your hard-earned federal tax dollars. What do they do with that? Well, they do a lot of things. They put on festivals, they spend it on advertising and things like that for tourism, but they also go to your local governmental agency and they say, wait a minute, we have a beautiful site here. We would like to protect that site. There's that word, protect. And they said, the problem is you have zoning which is too loose. We need to tighten that up. They're dangling the federal tax money in front of the government saying we can give you a lot of this. And the government says, I better put in some new zoning restrictions. And the next thing you know, you, the landowner, now have a new set of regulations affecting your property. And why were they enacted? They were enacted to protect this National Heritage Area. So now you have lost the use of your property in some form or fashion.
Lane, they do this under the idea of conservation? And
correct.
That is what they are trying to achieve. Just as Maurice said, they want to push the people off their land under the term of conservation and conservation easements and all kinds of conservation terms. And they create, as Lane just said, what is a regional group that will filter across county lines. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, they want to do that because they want to eliminate your local elected officials' ability to manage and control the land in your community. They want to take it out of the local officials' hands and put it in their NGO, non-government organizations' hands, usually under the guidelines of the United Nations. Have you found that in your work, Blaine?
I don't have the direct connection to the United Nations, but when you think about it, the Biden 3030 plan is a reality. He signed an executive order. If you look at the United States, the Interior Department feels that they own 12% of it right now. And the 3030 plan, as you have explained in this broadcast, they want to own and control 30% of the property by 2030. So there's one element. Then you have environmental efforts in states. In Florida, we have the Florida Wildlife Corridor. We live in a state that only has 34 million acres. The Florida Wildlife Corridor already controls over 10 million acres. And they have said, I mean, this is right on their website, we want 8 million more. That basically gives them over half the state. So all of these are connected. And my theory is, Karen, that if somebody says, oh, well, wait a minute, that's just conspiracy theory, fine, but they're there. They have websites and they tell you that we're coming and we want your property. And the question is, are they working together or with Agenda 21? Well, if they are, they're all in it together. But let's say they're not. Let's accept that argument and say, no, this is just happening independently. Does it make any difference? You know, are they going to come for my property working together, or are they going to compete for my property, which actually in my mind makes it worse? I mean, they do not want you on the land. On the Florida Wildlife Corridor website, on the front page, it says, we have a danger. We have people moving to Florida. And when they come to Florida, they're going to bring a car. They're going to live in a house with a roof, and they're going to have a yard. I mean, they have identified, you know, if you're somebody listening to this program that has either one of those three items, you're the enemy. You know, I don't have a direct connection, but it's all headed to the same place.
Lane, if you look up the National Heritage Site called the Everglades, you will see that it is a partnership with America and the United Nations. If you go to the United Nations websites, you will see that they sponsor the National Heritage Sites. So they are now controlling in Florida the Everglades. Technically, we have to ask the United Nations if there's anything that we have to do in the Everglades. We have to get their permission. Really? How does that work? It doesn't, folks. This was done under the dead of night without people paying attention, sadly, being told one thing and then being fed something else. So people are happy to make sure that land is conserved. That's really important. In Florida, we value our land, and the people that own it do everything they possibly can to enhance it. That's not good. The problem is they own it. And as long as Americans own something, they have to be eliminated because it is impossible to allow the rest of the world to own anything. And so they dream up these grandiose plans like the National Heritage Association, and they go, as Lane said, to your local communities with grants, with money, with this, with promises, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what's the net result? The net result is we, the people, no longer own our land. Now, why is that so important for us? Why is that so important that we own, that we exhibit ownership in things? Because ownership builds equity, which enables the land owner to accumulate wealth. And wealth, as you just heard, is not acceptable because it is not socially just.
You know, we're talking about sovereignty. This nation was based on personal freedom, freedom from government, and we have to be extremely vigilant about that, and owning your property and fighting for it and making your voice heard is critical to your freedom and your personal sovereignty. Let me just read you a brief statement. This is, there is an existing National Heritage Area, Blackstone River National Heritage Corridor. This is in Massachusetts. At some point, this is in their official published management plan. At some point, a sufficient level of concern is reached, along with a growing concern that voluntary, non-regulatory measures are themselves insufficient to ensure that environmental, cultural, and historic resources are adequately protected against indiscriminate and inappropriate development. So in other words, they don't want you having a say about your property. And they put it in writing. They don't hide their agenda anymore. So
no, it's right out. You're absolutely right. It is right out in our face. They are hiding nothing.
I'd like to, if I may, mention our website.
Please do. Yes, please do.
It's called Stop the Florida Panhandle Maritime National Heritage Area. It's a very easy URL to enter in your computer, and it's just simply stop NHA, all one word, STOPNHA.com. And that brings you to the website. It's got a section for answering your questions, and it's also got a section called Get Engaged. This is so new, we're still developing it, and we have a petition there that we would appreciate you signing. And we also are going to be placing information on there so that you can contact your elected officials, and it's very important to talk to them. Right now, we have some elected officials in Florida who we assumed were rather conservative and would protect us, and they have signed on to a bill to create a national heritage area. So we need to talk to Congressman Gates, we need to talk to Congressman Dunn, and Congresswoman Kamek, as well as Congressman Rutherford over on the East Coast and Congressman Waltz, and tell them no national heritage areas. And their contact information will soon be on our website, but there's a tremendous amount of other information on there now. So I appreciate you letting us get that out.
This is so important, folks. You must go to your commissioner meetings. And when a government grant is dangled in front of the noses of your commissioners, tell them no. Now, why am I saying that? Because the majority of them do not read the fine print of what goes along when they accept these grants. And often they are giving control of their resources over to an unelected group of people, an unelected NGO, to, quote, manage the land. Wait a minute. We, the people, are very capable of managing our own land. We don't need a group to come in and tell us what we must do with our own land. That is the purpose of ownership, is to be able to say, this is mine, and if I want to put a tree over there, I'm going to put it over there. And if I want to put a house over there, I'll put a house over there. This is my land. And building equity enables you to accumulate wealth for things that you may want to do future in your life, like send your kids to college, open a business. How many businesses used to be started in the basements of your parents' home because they own the home and nobody could tell you you couldn't do that business? Well, that is almost gone today. People are not creating, they're not innovating because they are more concerned right now in losing what they have accumulated. So the best way to stop that from happening is to attend the zoning meetings and to attend the commissioner meetings. And anytime you see a government grant in your community, do a deep dive into what that grant actually stands for and what the ramifications you and your community will experience after you take that money. Remember, with communists, money always comes with strings. There's no such thing as a free ride. Lane, tell everybody again where they can find the website. And this is put up, folks, by individuals just like us. I'm part of this group as well. Individuals coming together create incredible things in America. Let's show them what we can do and not sit on our hands and let things happen. We are the ones to make things happen. Lane, where can everyone find you? Give them the website again, please.
Thank you. And the website is stopnha.com. All one word, stopnha.com. And there's a lot of information on there. And what Karen says about attending the meetings, let me just quickly tell you that there was a tourist development meeting where these folks made a presentation. It took less than 5 minutes. They came in, they showed some pretty pictures of trees and oceans and lakes and said, we'll give you money to help ecotourism. And that's all it took. They got a letter of intent and support out of this Tourist Development Council. And there was nobody there to speak against it. And that's what we need.
You are right. That is the real problem. The real problem is becoming we the people. And we cannot allow that to be a problem. We cannot allow that to dictate who we are, what we are, and what this country means to us and brings us as we put back into the country. So, folks, make sure that you protect your private property. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You're listening to Karen Schoen. This is the Prism of America's Education, and my guest, Lane Watkins. Thank you so much for joining me, Lane.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate the opportunity.